Hello, everyone. Welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @Pless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to the large cap tech stocks like the Mag 7 stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index. And the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. Second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis. And for setups, and when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the underlying asset as well as the way you like to trade. And I will be going through both of these steps today, both of these steps in my process today for equity index futures as well as some stocks. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Here's my agenda for today, Monday, April 7th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events coming up for this week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, and again, questions or comments are very welcome. I always enjoy an interactive session. All right, let's get started with news items, economic data, and events for the week. Let's take a quick look at the events calendar on the Spotgamma dashboard home screen here. Looking right here. And there are a few key events and data releases this week. Starting on Wednesday, FOMC minutes come out at 2 p.m. Eastern. That will be during my session on Wednesday. Thursday, CPI data comes out 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, PPI data comes out. And 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment. All right, so not a lot of events and data, but some key items coming up for this week. All right, let's move on to positional analysis now. And let's take a quick look at, well, let's take a look at this in Equity Hub. This is the new Spotgamma synthetic open interest model, and this is SPX, and showing the key strikes that Spotgamma was focused on today. That is 4,800, and this is positive gamma up above, indicating traders are long puts at that level at 4,800. That's 4,800. And that was acted as support overnight, and Spotgamma was calling that level as key support, and that again, that level acted as support just after the open yesterday evening, and then 5,400 on the upside right there. Call gamma there, put gamma there, positive gamma. All right, let's go to Bookmap now. Take a look at the S&P 500. Here's that support at 4,800. And that was just after the cash open yesterday. That big drop down, over 200 points down to 4,800 support. All right, we can zoom in on this now. All right, while we're waiting on that, let's take a look at a higher time frame. Let's go to the SPX, the underlying index. This is a 1 year, 1 day chart showing correction began after the April expiration. That's that vertical red line there. And then the big drop began Thursday, Friday, and then today on the day after President Trump announced the tariffs Wednesday after the market closed. So a big drop Thursday morning. And I believe that was over 800 points altogether from the close on, over 800 points from the close on Wednesday afternoon. And note today, this is showing, of course, SPX that only trades during regular trading hours. SPX found support right around the lower daily expected move that I posted in Discord yesterday evening. And note, with the big range of movements today, there's not going to be any exact support or resistance at any level. Pretty wide range. Looks like SPX traded all the way up to almost the upper daily expected move. And for today, the daily expected move was plus or minus 208 points. So that's huge. All right, let's take a look now at a 30-day 1-hour chart. Sticking with SPX, 30-day 1-hour chart. So here's the drop that began so that was Thursday, the big gap down, and then SPX continued down all the way until this morning, again finding support just around the little bit lower than the lower daily expected move today. All right, so let's take a look at the levels now. First of all, again, let's go back to the expected moves. This is the dashed purple line showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. And then the dashed blue line showing the lower and upper daily expected move. Again, I do post these levels in Discord every day the evening before, so I posted these yesterday afternoon. And they're based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. And the expected moves for the week will remain in place for the entire week. And then the daily expected moves, of course, will change every day. All right, the dark red lines are showing Spotgamma levels. These are based on gamma-weighted open interest that provided to Spotgamma subscribers, available on a variety of trading platforms. Again, this is Thinkorswim 30-day 1-hour chart. Let's take a look at the key daily levels. First of all, 5,000, That is the put wall. That's a strike with large net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And note, of course, SPX did gap down and opened below that level and is now trading above that level. That's also the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with largest absolute positive and negative gamma. That's where most of the gamma weighted open interest is concentrated. Next, call wall up at 53.90, just below that 5400 level. Kind of an odd level for the call wall. Usually it's a big round number. But the call wall is a strike with largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. So again, what Spotgamma was calling for, 4,800 support, 5,400 resistance. And so far that support at 4,800 before the cash open has held. All right, finally, the volatility trigger remains at 58.25. That's a strike. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, like SPX is trading L, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. We'll take a closer look at gamma in just a minute or two. All right, so shifts and levels. A put wall did shift lower from 5,400 down to 5,000 again today. Call wall also shifted lower. Absolute gamma strike remains at 5,000, and the volatility trigger remains up at 58.25. So again, put wall and call wall shifted lower. And for SPY, the put wall also shifted lower, but the call wall shifted higher. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. Then we'll get back to Bookmap. Let me zoom out just a little bit so we can focus on, we'll focus on Thursday through today. So there's the gap down on Thursday after the tariff announcements, and Wednesday after the close. Big drop down. Again, SPX did trade down below the lower daily expected move, now trading above. A lot of chop around the 5,000 level, up and down. And again, SPX not sticking to exactly to any of these levels here. All right, back to Bookmap. Again, this is the ES Futures and Bookmap. And we'll talk about setups in just a few minutes. So I pointed out the 4,800 level just after the open yesterday afternoon. So for a bullish day today, and looks like the 49.50 level, that is not a Spotgamma level. That's SPX 49.50 has held a support earlier today. Here's the ES, lower daily expected move, and the ES did trade down below that level, then traded up above. And the 52.50 level, that's SPX. The white lines are SPX levels acting as resistance. And note, my understanding is this was what the White House is calling fake news, that there was going to be, I guess, a 90-day pause on tariffs maybe. But CNBC is reporting that that was, White House is indicating that was fake news. And that was a huge, huge move. In a very short period of time. This is one of the, I think this is the most volatile day I've ever seen. So crazy movement today. And for futures traders, good idea today was to trade micros instead of full contracts, unless you have a very large account and can tolerate pretty wide stop loss. So micros definitely working today. All right, so that's the S&P 500 and ES futures. More about setups in a few minutes. There's that 5,000 level, absolute gamma strike put wall. Point of control, that purple line there just below. Also VWAP just below the 5,000 level. So again, bullish, starting about 9:45. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. Fake news coming out a little bit after 10. White House indicates it's fake news, and then the S&P 500 drops down, back down to the 49.50 level. All right, note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And earlier today, it was swinging pretty wildly, anywhere from 25 to 45 maybe. And now it has settled down to about 34. So that's what I'm using. So I'm showing SPX 5,000 right here at ES 5034. And by the way, I have turned off most of the SPY round number levels. Just too many lines on this chart. So I'm showing the red lines are ES levels, the zeros and the 50s. And then the white lines are just Spotgamma levels, or zeros and 50s for SPX. So Spotgamma levels for SPY, Spotgamma levels for SPX, zeros and 50s for SPX. Those are the white lines. And then the red lines, again, are ES zeros and 50s. All right, again, more about setups in just a few minutes. And let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Crazy volatility in NASDAQ. And I have turned off a lot of lines in here too. Note the red lines are the zeros and the 50s for NQ. And of course, for one contract, each of those red lines again represents 50 points or $1,000. So huge move in huge moves in NASDAQ today. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. And one thing to point out, NASDAQ, the blue line there, dash blue line, that's a lower daily expected move for NASDAQ. And here's the upper daily expected move for NASDAQ. All right, let's take a look at the underlying assets. Let's go to QQQ first. And here's the QQQ put wall. That was the lowest spot gamma level on the board. Combo level up above, just below 440. Huge range in QQQ. Let's take a look at NDX. So a few spot gamma levels in play. Again, not exact support and resistance. Here's the put wall for NDX. That's the lowest spot gamma level. And more levels up above, mostly combo levels. All right, back to Bookmap. So I've got, again, NQ, big round numbers. These are zeros in the 50s. And then for QQQ, I have the 10s, the 400, 410, 420, and the spot gamma levels, as well as the NDX spot gamma levels. So huge range of movement, most volatile day I've seen in quite some time. We'll talk about setups in just a few minutes. All right, let's move on. Let's wrap up our positional analysis by taking a look at gamma. This will give us an indication, a partial indication of the potential volatility for the day. And I'm going to start by taking a look at market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. For the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Russell 2000, note all these numbers are negative, indicating traders are long puts, market makers short puts, hence the negative gamma. They have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. We can take a quick look at actually let's go on to trace. So by the way, these numbers, although negative, did shift very strangely. I thought this was quite odd. They shifted higher from Friday, but still quite negative. All right, let's take a look at trace. And what this is showing is the red shading is negative gamma. I would have expected this to be much deeper shade of red. But anyway, it is what it is. Here's that 4,800 strike. Positive gamma at that level. Again, that's the level that acted as support just after the open yesterday evening. Stability index at 6%, pretty low. All right, so that is the state of the market today. So I was looking for very high volatility for today based on this information. Direction really depends on news, of course, and also very old oversold conditions. Overall, looking for some sort of bounce today that may not last, but definitely looking for more bullish price action today, and that is what happened. All right, so let's take a look at some setups now. Let's move on from planning to execution, and I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And as always, start by taking a look at what options traders have been doing today. And I'm going to do that by taking a look at the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. And for the S&P 500, there are two hero signals that we can take a look at. This is the index signal, and there's quite a distortion at the opening today. So what this is showing is market maker options traders options trades in the S&P 500 index components. That's SPX, SPY, ES, XSP, and market maker hedging activity. And the white line is price for SPX, and the purple and red line is the hero signal. So that is for the index, and I'm going to ignore this signal due to this right here, this distortion. And this, it turns out, this is, I'm not quite sure what this is. It is in, let's check, SPX. Check those components, not an SPX. SPY, there it is. Very bearish. Hedging flow, traders buying puts. Somebody, probably pretty large, buying puts and selling calls in SPY. All right, let's go back to total. So I'm, due to that, I'm just going to take a look at actually go to the equity signal. And this is a much more clear signal today. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index, and providing a very good signal today. So what this is showing is this turnaround right around 9:45. Hedging flow shifted from negative delta to positive delta. And price followed. Traders buying calls, selling puts. And then this call peak right here. and that was at right around 10:17. I guess when the news came out that the White House said that was the fake news. And the S&P 500 dropped right back down to about 5,000. Again, I pointed out that 5,000 level and price oscillating up and down around that level. So turnaround right around 9:45. Fake news comes out. White House denies news. Price moves lower back down to 5,000. And this is, again, the equity signal, S&P 500 equity signal. Let's go to Bookmap. Go back to the ES. All right, I'm going to zoom in on this just a little bit. It might take some time. A lot of volatility today. All right, so let's take a look at the clues in the Bookmap chart here. First of all, in the subchart, this rising light blue line shows that large traders were fading that move down toward 48.50 and 4800. So they were buying ES with iceberg orders they used to hide their size. So that's the first clue of a reversal. Then at 9:45, again, remember, traders started buying calls, selling puts in the S&P 500 stocks. Price move higher, and that would be in the Mag 7 stocks. News comes out, huge move higher. A lot of aggressive buyers shown by the large green volume dots. Sharply rising cumulative volume delta up to 52.50. Buyers are exhausted. Sellers start to come in. You can see the magenta volume dots. Price moves lower. Back down to 5,000 and then a little bit below. Finding support at VWAP. That's that light blue line. So primary clue for the reversal higher this morning. Large traders buying with iceberg orders, fading that move down. And then the shift in volume dots, aggressive buyers on the way up and aggressive sellers on the way down. All right, so very nice bullish setup this morning. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Similar chart pattern. $9.45 reversal higher. Shift from magenta volume dots to green volume dots. Aggressive buyers start to come in. And NQ goes from the lower daily expected move to the upper daily expected move. All right, let's take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing. Take a look at the NASDAQ signal. And this is the same, looks the same as the, same as SPY, this big drop lower just after the open. Turns out that was in QQQ. All right, so let's go to the Mag 7 signal now. So what this is showing is options trades, market maker hedging activity for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. And in the case of the Mag 7 signal here, it was bullish from the open. Traders taking positive delta options positions, and traders take the foot off the gas for a couple minutes. Then at 9:45, signal reverses higher. Call peak pattern then mostly consolidation up until about 1 o'clock. A little bit of an institutional kickoff there. You can see that vertical bar there, and then traders start taking positive delta positions again. Let's check puts and calls. So today they are buying calls and selling puts. Orange line shows calls, blue line shows puts. Call peak pattern there. Just like S&P equities. All right, that's Mag 7. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, so similar pattern to, again, to the S&P 500. Now NASDAQ moving higher as traders have resumed buying calls and selling puts. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. First stock I want to take a look at is Apple. All right, let's see what options traders are doing in Apple today. Go to Apple. All right, so it's mainly put sellers that were driving price higher in Apple earlier today. That's shown by the rising blue line. Call buyers also up till about that 1017 peak. So overall, traders buying calls shown by the rising orange line, call peak. Then the call buyers have pretty much taken the foot off the gas. And put sellers continue to sell puts. So of course, Apple a big component in both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, driving price. Apple a little bit more bullish than the indexes, but made the same peak at 1017. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. There's that 945 reversal higher right at 175 round number level. Those were limit buy orders in the order book that were filled. And almost a 20-point move higher in Apple. That's huge. Huge intraday move for Apple. And this Apple chart almost looks like Tesla today. And reversal 1017. All right, next chart. Let's just do a quick scan through all the Mag 7 stocks. Next stock, Amazon. Zoom in on this just a bit. We'll go through all the Mag 7s. All right, so Amazon. Sharp move higher. And Amazon's reversal was right after the cash open. A little bit of a pullback right around 945. A lot of aggressive buyers in Amazon buying stock. So overall, over a 20-point move higher in Amazon, intraday range in Amazon today, from the open to the high of the day, or from the low to the high. And after that move. Amazon finding support at VWAP. Good entry points for longs. Let's take a look at Google. CRW, welcome, glad you're here, says show NVIDIA before the $100 price hits. Yeah, I can do that. So here's Google. Let's take a look and see what options traders are doing at Google. Then we'll go to NVIDIA. There's Google. So in Google, let me shift to the total signal here. Note the hero signal starts to move higher before the index is reversed higher. Starts to move higher before 940. A little bit of an institutional kickoff there. That large block orders, vertical line. And so far today, the hero signal continues to move higher. Looks like now, starting around just after 1, options traders have taken the foot off the gas. All right, so that's Google. Also, aggressive buyers. You can see all the green volume dots. Rising cumulative volume delta, that's shown by that magenta line there. All right, CRW wants to take a look at NVIDIA. Yeah, we can do that. Then we'll get back to Meta and Microsoft. All right, there's NVIDIA. After the bearish opening print, aggressive buyers start to come in. Price reverses above VWAP, trades up above 100. And 100 as the key gamma strike. Those were limit sell orders in the order book at 100. Looks like they were consumed, then came back in. And acting as a magnet for price. Let's see what options traders have been doing in NVIDIA. This was a great setup this morning, a divergent setup. Very bullish order flow, hedging flow from the open. Very timely flow alert, signals significant options activity. Get your attention. Nice pullback entry right around 945 as traders were taking positive delta options positions. Let's zoom in on this. There's that divergent setup. Hero rising sharply. Price is flat. Then responds. Again, a very nice divergent setup. Another flow alert comes in. Just at that peak pattern. So 2 very timely flow alerts in NVIDIA. One signaling it's time to get in, time to take a long. And then the other signaling a potential reversal in the hedging flow from positive delta to negative delta or potential neutral delta. And that's exactly what happened. Let's shift to puts and calls. Very prominent call peak. Again, nice flow alert. And that happened just as NVIDIA broke above the 100 key gamma strike. Call buyers took their foot off the gas. Same for put sellers. And NVIDIA reversed lower. Now consolidating, grinding higher. So now traders have continued to sell puts and have resumed buying calls. There's another flow alert. maybe signaling another potential reversal or shift in the hedging flow. All right, back to Bookmap. And NVIDIA making its way back up to the 100 key gamma strike. So there you go. CWR, did you have any questions about NVIDIA? All right, let's step back. Let's take a look at Meta. So we want to go through all the Mag 7s today. Choppy day in Meta. Huge range. There's that 945 reversal higher. Aggressive buyers starting to come in. Rising cumulative volume delta. It looks like I need to shift my price lines in Meta. All right, let's see what options traders are doing. I don't think the Meta signal provided as much clarity as some of the others. Yeah, a little bit choppy signal. Bullish hedging flow. Bearish. Price slows down a little bit. News comes out. Price jumps higher. Note 500 is the put wall, key gamma strike. And after the quick move higher, the 1017 reversal, Meta found support at that 500 level. Now traders have resumed taking positive delta options positions. Let's go back to Bookmap. There's that 500 level support. Take a look at Microsoft. Choppy day in Microsoft. Huge range. $9.45 reversal higher. Response to news, then reversal higher, 1017. Let's see what options traders are doing. Microsoft. Very choppy hero signal. Looks like that same opening bearish hedging flow in Microsoft is same as SPY and QQQ. So not much information here in the Microsoft hero signal. Let's move on to Tesla. Just the opposite in Tesla. This is very normal for Tesla. Very heavily driven by options trades. So if you trade using this approach, Tesla is one of the primary stocks to trade using options trades as a key to price action. So there's Tesla, 945 reversal. 250 hedge wall, key gamma strike, and price reverses at that level, acting as resistance. Let's shift to puts and calls. So traders buying calls and selling puts. Looks like the call buyer is a little bit more aggressive today. Go to Tesla. Huge range in Tesla today. $215 up to $250. And again, remember 250 is the hedge wall key gamma strike. Same pattern as most other stocks. 945 reversal higher. Aggressive buyers come in, green volume dots. Buyers are exhausted. Price reverses at the 250 hedge wall key gamma strike. And now spent a lot of time chopping up and down around between 225 and 235. And whoops, didn't mean to do that. All right, a couple more stocks we can take a look at. One, Robinhood. Bullish setup this morning, just like everything else, except the hedging flow was bullish from the open. Large vertical bar there, institutional kickoff. Large block order, institutional order. Choppy hero signal, but definitely moving higher. And 1017 reversal right around the 36 hedge wall. So key levels, 34 put wall, 35 key gamma strike, then 36 hedge wall. Let's take a look at Bookmap. Go to Robinhood. Paris, Las Vegas, 1. Welcome, glad you're here. Says, Doug, can you comment on ES again, please? Yeah, I'll get back to ES. Wanted to take a look at one more stock. Bullish day in Robinhood here. Aggressive buyers come in, 945 reversal. Robinhood breaks above VWAP. 1017 reversal with everything else. Now Robinhood grinding higher. One last look at Hero. All right, Hero for Robinhood continues to move higher. All right, let's go back to the S&P 500. Again, we're looking at the S&P equity signal. Let's zoom in on this just a bit. Notice now the options traders have slowed down a little bit of a peak pattern there, right at 2 o'clock. But now looks like the S&P 500 is recovering from that little bit of a dip. Let's go back to ES now. I'm going to zoom in on this. So it looks like ES, at least very temporarily, found resistance at the ES 5150 level. And Momo, welcome, glad you're here, says 17,900. And is that your projection for NQ? Right now, NQ trading at 780. Zoom in just a bit more. Too much. I'm going to darken up the heat map just a little bit. So the heat map and Bookmap is showing a history of limit orders. Looks like some limit buy orders came in just after this reversal down to around 5105. And limit sell orders up above at levels maybe 56, 62, 75, 90. Let's see what options traders are doing. Still taking positive delta positions in the Mag 7 stocks. And S&P 500 stocks. All right, now breaking out above the 5150 level as aggressive buyers come in, and that was a little bit of a stop run there shown by the rising yellow line. So buy stop orders help to fuel that move higher. Up to the liquidity at 56. Next is at 61. Let's check NASDAQ. See if NASDAQ has made it up to Momo's level yet. Let's zoom in on this. We're going to have to zoom in. All right, so Momo's level up above at 17,900. Looks like some aggressive sellers are coming in. All right, so ES reversed down from that liquidity at 56. Back down to SPX 5100. Let's go back and check Hero. And by the way, of course, I'm only presenting on one screen, so I can only show one screen at a time. Normally, when I'm trading, I'm looking at least 3 screens. Bookmap in the center, and then Hero and a trading platform on each side. So let's so I can watch all at the same time. And note also, I am using a beta version of Hero here, showing the Hero signal in candlesticks. And this does tend to taper off So I'm going to zoom in a bit. And Suresh, welcome, glad you're here. Ask, how do you get the liquidity levels on NQ and Bookmap? All right, let's go to, and for NQ, I trade the S&P 500. Don't trade NASDAQ, NQ, especially in this high volatility. NQ is just too much for me. So I have pretty much adjusted my heat map. I can bump it up just a little bit. And then I'll go to my heat map settings. So this is what I have for my heat map settings. So mostly toned down quite a bit. But you can see this liquidity up here, right around 830 or so, acting as resistance. And that is just above this combo level. And also the QQQ round number level. So you can adjust your heat map to your liking. Let's go back to ES. So looking at the short-term picture here, ES reverses at that 51.56 liquidity. Some more sellers come in, and SPX finds resistance. ES finds resistance at the 51.50 level. And large traders are fading this move down, or trading with this move down. They are selling as price moves down. That's not a lot, but they are selling as price moves down. And then ES broke down below the 5100 level. Looks like this liquidity was pulled here, moved up just a little bit, moved back down now to the round number, 5100. And it looks like there's some limit orders front running that 5100 liquidity level. That's not big, but it is something in the order book. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's check the index signal, see if that is, if we can zoom out, get rid of that that odd opening move for SPY. So now the hero signal in the index components is moving lower, but it looks like it's following price. Let's go to equities. Also flattening out a bit. Back to Bookmap. All right, last call for questions. Stocks. So as we're wrapping up here, this was a nice trend break short. Looking at order flow, providing a lot of clues here. Support right around this liquidity. And then resistance and reversal right around 56, 61 liquidity up above. And ES makes a lower high, then breaks down to 5100. So that's a 50-point move in ES in about 5 minutes. And some days in positive gamma, ES does not move 50 points in the whole day. So there you go, 50-point move in 5 minutes. And pretty clear on reading order flow here. All right, I don't see any more questions. ET1 says, great job, Doug. Thank you very much. Thanks for your kind words. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap it up. Remember, coming up this week, Wednesday, 2 p.m., FOMC minutes, and that will be in the middle of my session. We'll stop and take a look and see if there's any reaction to the FOMC minutes, CPI data on Thursday, PPI, and consumer sentiment on Friday. All right, everyone, I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.